Hello and welcome. Amanda here with another video. Now I've got an unhaul for you. I decided in December to go through the books on my shelf. Kind of rearranged my bookcase a lot of bit, in the hopes that it will encourage me to read more of the books on my shelf this year. So on this side here, I've got all the books that I've read, and on this side are all the books I still need to get to. So I just decided to unhaul books that I have either read and gave maybe 3 stars or below to, or books that I'm just not going to get around to again, and books that I have no interest anymore in reading. So without any more rambling from me, I'm going to show you the stacks. We'll start with the books that I haven't read yet that I decided to get into. So this is a little bigger than my books that I've read. Oops. Now, I didn't count before I decided to start filming. So I'll give you a tally when I'm done of how many books I'm unhauling. I'm not going to do big descriptions, but I'll show you one by one which books I decided that I'm going to get rid of. Alright, so the first book in the stack that I haven't read yet is Great American Short Stories. I'm sure there's a lot of good stories in here, but there's a lot of books on my shelf that I'm more interested in reading, and I just don't think that I'm going to get to this book anytime soon. The next book is The Listeners by Taylor Caldwell. I don't know much about this book, I'll be honest, but it just doesn't look appealing to me, so it's gonna find a new home. Then I've got 3 Christmas books by Debbie Maycumber. Again, I'm just not interested in reading them. If I want the warm, fuzzy feel-goods for the holiday, I'm just gonna watch a Hallmark movie because I'm pretty sure all of these are Hallmark movies. The next book is The Voyage by Philip Caputo. This is a book I bought a long time ago in a library sale. It's been sitting on my shelf for a while, and I just think I've kind of outgrown wanting to read this book. If I ever decide to pick it up again, I'm sure I'll be able to find it somewhere. The next book is Ramona by Helen Hunt Jackson. I've tried to read this book. I think I've started it probably 2 or 3 times. Never finished it. I just don't think it's a book I'm ever going to get to and finish. If I do, it probably won't be in a physical copy. It'll probably be in the audiobook format. Next book I have is Green Grow the Victims by Jean M. Dams. This is a book in a series that follows the main character. I think it's a mystery. I'm not really big into mysteries. This was kind of a cover buy for me. The story sounded intriguing, but again, it's just another book that's been sitting on my shelf for probably 2 years now that I'm not going to get to anytime soon, especially since it's a mystery and it's a part of a series. So this is going to go back to the used bookstore that I bought it from. A couple years ago, I started reading the Boleyn. I'm not entirely sure anymore what the series is called because I know recently there were 2 series that were separate that were joined together, but the books about King Henry VIII and the Boleyn family and just everything that went around in the Tudor time period, those books by Philippa Gregory. So I kind of went down a rabbit hole and started buying all the books that were like that, and it's been a couple years. I have kind of outgrown that phase. I'm still interested in reading the Philippa Gregory books, but I don't think I'm going to get to these other books that I picked up. This first book is by S.J. Paris. You know, like I said, I'm not going to read it. The Last Queen by C.W. Gortner. I believe The Queen's Captive and The King's Daughter are part of a series. This one is by Barbara Kyle. Again, I already have a whole bunch of books in the Philippa Gregory series. I don't need the same subject matter in another long series. So these are going to go back to my used bookstore. And Elizabeth I by Margaret George. I've got 3 books left. Another one is a cover by. This is The Birth of Venus by Sarah Denon. Seemed intriguing. Book was really pretty. I'm not interested in it anymore, so it's just gonna find another home. Last 2 books. The first book is another book that I've tried to start a couple times. I think probably 2 or 3 times again for this one. I recently listened to the audiobook and struggled to get through it. So I just decided to DNF the series. Probably, I'm not sure if I'll pick up any more from this author, but I think I would rather watch the films than read the book. It's not a subject matter that I care to read, and I think I would just rather enjoy the films. And that is The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. We also have The Lost Symbol. I'm not sure if this is the 3rd or the 4th book in the series, but I'm finally going to say goodbye to the Da Vinci Code and just watch it. And I think we'll be a lot happier together if I do that instead. So now moving on to my stack of books that I have read. With the exception of a couple, none of these are bad books. They're just books that I don't want to read again. First book is The Mitford Snowman by Jane Karen. This is just a short little 50 to 100 page book. Really cute about snowmen being built in the town, just bringing Christmas cheer to it. Loved it for Christmas time. It was great to read through, look at the pictures, give you just the warm fuzzy feels that you want during that time, but you know, it's just not a story I need to revisit. The next book is The Blue Door by Anne Rinaldi. This is a middle grade book. It is also part of the series. Honestly, I think I picked it up because the main character's name is Amanda. Kind of vain of me, but you know, it's kind of fun to read about characters with your same name. Just a trilogy that I'm not interested in reading. Not a story I want to visit again, so it's gonna find another home, and maybe another Amanda will pick it up. We'll see. Nicholas Sparks' book. I have The True Believer and The Choice. You know, once you start reading enough Nicholas Sparks books, they all kind of seem the same, and it's great for when you want those reads, but contemporary really isn't my genre of choice, so those are going to find new homes. The next book is a classic. It was a doozy to get through, and I didn't enjoy it. That's Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. I think I got through the first 100 pages of this book, and then I had to listen to the audiobook to finish it, and it was hard to get through. I'm glad I can't really say I'm glad I read it. It's a classic. It's a Russian classic. It's Tolstoy. It's descriptive. It's a lot of information you don't need, and I won't read it again. The next book is Dubliners by James Joyce. I really wanted to like this book a lot more than I did. It's a book of anthologies about people living in Dublin. So you follow different characters, different points of views. I really wanted to like this book, but I didn't. And so I'm finally gonna get it off my shelf and give it to a new home, and hopefully someone will like it. A book that I read this October was I Am Legend and Other Short Stories by Richard Matheson. I'll be honest, this is kind of silly. I don't read a lot of mysteries, thrillers, horror, scary books. I get into like the paranormal with, you know, nice vampires like Edward and his family, and that's about it for me. I don't like to be scared. When I read this book, my boyfriend was working nights, so he wasn't getting home until 1 a.m. And it's not a very scary book, I'll be honest. But I wouldn't pick it up at night because I was afraid it was going to be scary. So I decided to listen to the rest of this book through my library and got through it. I've only seen bits and pieces of the movie, and I think if I were ever to revisit this, it would probably be in the movie format. This book just wasn't what I enjoyed. It wasn't what I expected it to be. I'll admit I like my endings to be very black and white. I don't like them to be gray and open to interpretation. You can kind of tell what happened at the end of this book, but it was still open to interpretation, and I just left loose ends hanging, and I didn't enjoy it. So my boyfriend said I could finally unhaul it, and so that is what I'm gonna do. Second to last book. This is another book that was a cover buy for me. Trigger word was Scotland. Idea of this being set in Scotland and it having a beautiful cover. That was enough for me to buy it. This is The Summer of the Bear by Pullen. Book takes place in Germany and in Scotland during the Cold War. It follows a family. It's kind of nice because each chapter follows a different family member, and you see how the events that are playing out, how each member was impacted by it. It was a decent book. I just felt like it was pretty lengthy. It's kind of another mystery, but I don't know. It doesn't read as a mystery. Nice enough book, but it's not one that I want to read again, so it's gonna go back to my used bookstore where I bought it and hopefully look beautiful on someone else's shelf. I have thought about keeping it just because of this cover. I love it, but that's not a good enough reason to keep a book that I didn't enjoy, so it's gonna go somewhere else. The last book I have is Famous by Jilly Gagnon. I actually believe this is the first book I ever received in a subscription box. It just wasn't a very good contemporary, and I also went through a phase where I was reading too many contemporaries in a row. I got sick of them. They're not my favorite genre. I was kind of in a reading slump. I figured if I read something lighthearted and fluffy, it would get me out of that. It was a subscription box bought by my mother-in-law. So I was really excited to get to it and, you know, look into it and read it and tell her how the book was, but it was kind of a book that fell flat for me. Again, contemporary isn't one of my favorite genres, so I think someone else would probably enjoy this, but it's just not for me. So as promised at the beginning of this video, I said I was going to tell you at the end how many books I am unhauling. I have an even 25. That's really good for me because I tend to hang on to books because their cover is pretty. So I think this is a really good start for me. Definitely cleared up some space on my shelf to put more books that I'm excited to read and make room for the books that I purchased with my Barnes & Noble gift cards from Christmas. So I'm excited to get those and find a home for them in my to be read section. And I'm excited that someone else gets to love these books. That's it for now, so I'll chat with you later. Bye.